And that was also not recorded.
Yes.
On August 31st, the three of you met and you gave the defendant a shopping list of electronics.
Yes.
On October 3rd, you met and gave him more instructions.
Yes.
On November 4th, the FBI set up the trial explosion.
Yes.
On November 18th, you three walked to Pioneer Square, and on November 23rd, you brought the defendant to the storage shed to view the van.
That's right. He never hesitated.
What did you talk about on that 1-minute call with the defendant just before you met your partner?
I was just checking in, small talk. It was a quick call.
How about the 10-minute unrecorded call the following week?
Just a check-in, small talk.
Why did you and your partner create and reinforce a fantasy world for the defendant?
We wanted to give him something to look forward to. I was afraid that he would try something like 9/11, like Osama bin Laden.
You knew about the FBI internal assessment that he would never do anything by himself, that he was so immature that he would jeopardize any action that he was a part of.
I just learned about that last week.
He couldn't go overseas by himself.
Huh?
You told him that you could get a fake passport.
Yes.
And get him to Mexico.
Yes.
You told him what his life would be like and that he would have a wife and be a respected poet.
Yes.
You created a fantasy world for him and you held the keys.
I don't think of it like that.
Let's listen to a piece from that September 7th meeting.
The brothers can get you a passport, and I can get you as far as Mexico. Sounds cool. You know, there isn't going to be any parking. That whole area is going to be, like, packed. We're not going to get a parking space. So maybe you will become a great leader overseas. We just need to take this one step at a time. Your writing is so inspirational, and people need to know how to be a good Muslim. We want you to go overseas. You can do 2, maybe 3 things. November 24th is still going to happen.
You meant that November 26th is still going to happen.
Yes.
You told him what he needed to do here before starting his new life overseas.
Yes.
He just wanted to go overseas, and you told him that Allah was testing him here first.
We always give him a choice.
Yeah, and each choice involved an operation here. You didn't give him the choice to just go overseas.
True.
The FBI plan was for him to choose parking the van, and you kept saying, you have the option, it's your choice. These words sometimes don't mean anything.
I disagree.
Tone is also important.
Okay.
You testified that it was easy for you to get the defendant to make the goodbye video.
Yes.
On July 30th, you claimed to have offered the defendant 5 options.
I did. There
was no recording, so we have to rely on your written words. We can't hear your tone. We can't see your actions. We can't tell if you were neutral. It wouldn't be proper for you to create evidence by...
Object.
Sustained. Next line of questioning.
The government claimed that the defendant's use of hush mails showed spycraft sophistication, and the FBI, in fact, told him to use hush mail.
That was part of my role in preparing him for the meeting with Hussein.
It was presented as evidence, and you created it. We wouldn't have known that you put the idea in the defendant's head if we didn't have the recording.
I would have reported it.
We needed the actual recording to understand what happened later when you told Hussein that the defendant knows about hush mail.
If you say so.
Let's talk about the August 19th meeting, the first meeting with Hussein.
Sure.
The script was that you had to convince Hussein that the defendant was worthy.
Yes.
You were concerned that the defendant might exaggerate.
Yes.
After the meeting, the recorder stayed on.
Yes.
And your partner said, "It is too good to be true."
Yes.
Meaning that the defendant had mentioned a target, a justification, and how long he had been thinking about it.
Object. Asking the witness to speculate.
Sustained.
You and your partner met with your handlers before that August 19th meeting.
Yes.
You discussed what to say at the meeting.
Broadly.
There is a triad of evidentiary valuation: plan, justification, and long-standing ideology. And when the defendant delivered on all three of these things at the first meeting with Hussein, he said it was too good to be true.
Yes.
And it was too good to be true, wasn't it?
He published with Osama bin Laden. Our goal was to assess a terrorist threat.
At that July 30th meeting, Agent Shin was in the hotel lobby.
Yes.
You went alone at Borders bookstore and brought him back to the hotel, about a 10-minute walk.
Yes.
Let's look at some FBI surveillance photos of that walk. Here you are making a slicing motion with your arm, like you are making some kind of point. And here again is that slicing motion, like you are imploring him, giving him instructions.
We were just chatting. I don't remember any facts.
You told him it was like a job interview.
No.
You told him you were interviewing 5 to 7 other candidates.
That's fine.
And that did not make it into your written report.
If that is what you have there.
We have clear evidence from this case that you can influence his choices.
I wouldn't say that.
On November 4th, you gave him the option to make the goodbye video, said it was his choice, and you influenced him to do it.
Yes, I wouldn't say it that way.
On July 30th, we have on paper that you gave him 5 options and that he chose operational.
Yes, he chose to be a terrorist.
I didn't say terrorist.
Yeah, just like I don't say influence.
The defendant often spun long and disjointed stories.
Yes.
Kind of a spaced out kid. It was you who suggested the bomb expert.
Yes.
He never said, "Can you help me with this?"
True.
Initially, the defendant didn't think Portland was a good target and suggested DC.
Yes.
And you influenced him to research targets in Portland.
He came up with Pioneer Square.
Let's listen again to audio from the August 19th meeting.
So what do you want to do? Well, last time, me and a brother, what we discussed is private. You are the diamond in the rough. Just tell him what is in your heart.
The defendant looks at you in that video when he says, "Last time, me and a brother."
Yes, he looked at me.
We were not able to hear the defendant's version because you interrupted.
Yes, ma'am.
You are not testifying under your true name.
True.
You don't want to be seen in public because you are still working undercover.
Yes.
You don't like going to court.
Not particularly.
What could you have personally done to not have this trial?
Let's take a short break.
After the jury files out,
Ms. Monet, what could that possibly have to do with this case? What could you have personally done to not have this trial is an inappropriate question.
He had the option to up the ante and make a fair trial impossible. The jury needs to hear this.
I will not allow that line of questioning. You are done with this witness. Bring the jury back in. Redirect, Mr. Bishop?
why was the defendant not given keys to the van?
We thought he might drive into the crowd and blow himself up.
Why did he play an active role?
To give him the feeling that he was doing something.
Did he hesitate or shy away when you described the bomb?
No.
How about when you told him it was packed with nails?
He never hesitated.
Why did the defendant want to go overseas?
He wanted to join the Mujahideen and fight the West.
What was the context of your statement, November 24th is still going to happen?
I meant that he didn't have to kill himself.
You first met the defendant on July 30th. What do you remember from that first meeting?
He wanted to wage war in the U.S. That really stuck in my head.
Whether or not you interrupted the defendant, he had already told you his plan and his justification for killing Americans?
That's right.
No more questions.
Recross.
You reviewed documents to prepare for testifying today.
Yes.
You've read through them many times.
Yes.
And this might be when wage war stuck in your head.
Maybe.
During this entire investigation, is there any recording of the defendant saying wage war?
No.
No. No more questions.
The government recalls Hussein. November 26th was the bomb attempt. How did you meet up on that day?
I met Yusuf and the defendant at the hotel.
Why did you walk him to view the van?
I wanted to see